Dear students, a warm welcome to everyone. In the last class, we were introduced with the need for modeling bioprocess and we studied the basic characteristics of modeling and also we have been introduced with basic differences between structured and unstructured models and also we studied the salient differences between segregated and non-segregated models. The importance of structured model in more specific to estimation of biomass yield was studied with the application of compartmental models. In today's class, we are going to study about two entirely different models and will be introduced to each content. Students are the leaders of next generation. There will be wide range of qualities possessed by the students in a class. Anyone who is determined will be topping the class and get placed in reputed companies with high package. But the classroom will be having students with less potential also who will be least considered in the class. It is unwise to grade a particular class with negative score if some of the students are poor in studies or qualities. Individual attention to each student might provide good results. Tomatoes are part of a daily food and are the source of income for many food processing industries. But if the tomatoes supplied by a farmer are found to be rotten or with worm inside, then the company stop the purchase from the farmer. If individual attention is provided to all the tomatoes, then the yield from the farm will be high, benefiting both the farmer and the company. In any given bioprocess, the cells that are grown in a reactor will be continuously monitored through various instruments in order to maximize the yield. The yield was estimated considering that all the organisms are behaving alike and the entire system is considered as a single entity. But practically, the cells will be growing at its own pace depending on the availability of nutrients, aeration, and various other conditions. But by considering reactions occurring in a single cell as a being representative of behavior of the whole microbial population, more sophisticated models of cell behavior has been developed. These single cell models are developed to describe complex spatio-temporal process that occurs in multicellular organisms taking into account differences between individual cells as well as their ability to communicate and interact with one another and their environment and also to explicit interactions of different properties of individual cells but at the same time enables all these cells to act together as a collective body. This biologically realistic model of heterogeneous tissues and multicellular organisms allows for a better understanding of the principles underlying the complex biological process occurring during the formation, growth, and maintenance of multicellular bodies. The price for this increasing sophistication is that determination of rate expressions for a large number of reactions is difficult and estimates must be made for many of the constants involved. An example for this approach is provided by the model of E. coli growth and cell division formulated by Schuler and co-workers. In this approach, the cell is treated as an expanding reactor, that is, the mass balances are written, which include the effect of changing cell volume, resulting in a dilution of intracellular concentration. A representation of the model by Schuler and co-workers is given, and he is the scientist who developed the model and also he is the eminent person in bioprocess engineering who have written many books and one of the reference books followed by us is written by him and his co-workers. A representation of the key metabolic reactions of E. coli growing on glucose and ammonium salts was used by the team. The key points considered by the team is that the cell has completed a round of DNA replication and initiated cross-wall formation, and here the solid lines indicates the reaction pathways while the dashed lines represents regulatory steps. The metabolic components as indicated as M1, M4, M3 are none but A1 is ammonium ion, A2 being the glucose, P1 amino acid, P2 ribonucleic acid, P3 deoxyribonucleic acid. Equations have been developed for each of the species listed above in terms of total mass of each metabolite. Stoichiometric relations for lumped energy, mass, and reductant consumption process were also developed. As an example of the model formulation, the mass balance of DNA synthesis was considered where M3 is the mass of DNA and P1 is the mass of deoxyribonucleotides. The constitutive DNA formation is assumed to depend on the intracellular concentration of nucleotide precursors and on the intracellular glucose concentration, which we might consider to reflect the availability of energy of the cell. The rate expressions are formulated in concentrations expressed as mass per cell volume, noting that the cell volume changes with time. F is the number of replication forks and mu3 is the rate constant for the maximum rate of DNA formation, and mu3 can be determined from the data on the size of the E. coli chromosome, the number of replication forks, and the time required for a fork to transverse the chromosome under conditions of maximum growth. To determine the number of forks, F represents a separate set of equations describing the control of chromosome replication must be solved. Coming into the advantages, these models provides a basis for non-segregated and segregated model and provides a transient response of cells to environmental changes, and these models are capable of predicting cell size and nucleic acid content, and also these single cell models exhibit account of cell size and shape which is related to physiological state of the cell. The salient applications of single cell model is that the cell geometry is predicted as a function of growth rate and limiting nutrient, and related molecular stochastic changes to impressions in cell cycle parameters and predicted correctly the relation of the cell cycle parameters in progeny to parental cell fluctuations, and also predicted switching in metabolism growth rate to change from aerobic to anaerobic metabolism. But these single cell models has its own limitations, starting from the model must mirror the underlying biology faithfully, and it is mandated that the bioprocess engineers should know the key activities that happen during replication of bacterial cells, and also DNA replication, and also the molecular mechanisms happening during DNA replication and DNA transcription. Appropriate assumptions should be made logically, and measurements under at least two growth conditions would provide the basis for estimating most parameters. And finally, this system is computationally intensive to estimate the growth of each organism. Clearly, an enormous amount of metabolic information is required in formulating single cell models. However, these models can provide information on the transient response of various cells to environmental changes and are capable of predicting measurable quantities such as cell size and nucleic acid. These can be used to test the assumptions inherent in the rate expressions. Models such as this involve a very large number of equations and parameters. It may be interesting, however, to examine the wide range of predictive response such models can generate. These methods have certain challenges too, wherein it is more tools of genome analysis has to be made, and the bioprocess engineer should have enough knowledge on molecular biology, able to study the epigenetics and regulatory networks in order to clearly understand the nature of genome. Now let us dive into another interesting model that also requires the knowledge of molecular biology and genetic engineering to develop a model. What is this? This is the cheetah and it has been recognized to be the fastest animal in the world. But the same animal, when it is carrying the cub in the womb, then its speed gets slightly reduced and rarely runs, and it even ignores the prey if the cubs are being carried by it. Bullock carts are one of the modes of travel, but the bullocks will be feeling more loaded when huge mass is kept on the back and its speed get reduced. The microorganisms will be growing in its own phase in the natural habitat, but when it is cultured in the medium in the lab, it will be taking more lag phase. As the habitat gets changed, the lag phase gets increased as more time will be spent by the cells to adapt to the new environment. With ample studies on molecular biology and genetic engineering, the scientists across the world have started working with these cells by modifying the genomic nature by using the principles of transformation. Let us have a short recap about plasmid. Plasmids are small circular pieces of DNA and or the extra chromosomal DNA possessed by the microbial cells in order to adapt to new environment. Plasmids are small, stable and also easy to manipulate. The plasmids has its own genes for regulating and expression of proteins. These plasmids are tailored by molecular biologists in order to incorporate new genes. In the complete stretch of nucleotides, the plasmids contains origin of replication that aids in autonomous replication of the system where the plasmids will be replicating on its own phase and the cell will be replicating in its own phase. The antibiotic resistant gene aids the bacterial cells they survive the conditions of a particular antibiotic where the cells that lacks the plasmid will not be able to sustain in the condition possessing antibiotic. And next comes the selectable marker which helps to grow the organism in given environment. And next comes the multiple cloning site wherein the gene of interest can be incorporated into the cell under a strong promoter, and as the promoter is expressed the gene will also be expressed. The multiple cloning site possess the sequences of various restriction enzymes where the plasmid can be selectively digested and incorporated with new genes using suitable enzymes. So with the help of restriction enzymes, n number of genes can be incorporated into the multiple cloning site and can be made to express in the bacterial cell. One such example is that genes encoding for green fluorescent protein is incorporated into the plasmid and the plasmid is inserted into given bacterial cell, and as the protein gets expressed the bacterial cells fluorescence in nature. The plasmid is an extra load for the organism as the genes expressed by the plasmid will be utilizing the energy flux of cell's native mechanism. As the genes incorporated by the plasmid gets expressed, it will be utilizing the energy incurred by the cell and more energy will be used, and the quantum of energy that is being produced by the cell will be utilized for the expression of genes. The plasmids will be replicating on its own phase and the cells will be replicating on its own phase, and it is highly challenging that all the daughter cells will be transformed with the plasmid during replication of host cell, and also in the recombinant cells as the plasmids are introduced artificially, the cells will be developing all sorts of mechanisms to get rid of the plasmid out of the cell. So plasmid replication and plasmid stability are two challenges in working with are two major challenges when the recombinant strains are used to produce the biomolecules. In today's class, we will be discussing two suitable models that have been developed in order to study the growth pattern of cells in contact with plasmid replication and plasmid stability. But as the plasmids are new to the organism and the genes expressed by the plasmid will be utilizing the energy precursors of the cell, the metabolic flux increases further and the cell will be feeling discomfort. In today's session, we are going to study about two specific challenges in working with the plasmid. First, with respect to replication, and the second model with respect to plasmid stability. Bioprocess engineers have developed subsequent models in order to predict the rate of replication of cells in an absence of plasmid and also the stability of plasmid. The key challenges in working with plasmid is that stochastic process with events randomly distributed in time will be happening. Two of the main difficulties associated with the use of recombinant organisms for production of plasmid encoded protein are their plasmid copy number and stability of the plasmid within the host cell. The number of plasmids within a cell may vary depending on the nature of plasmid and growth rate of the host. The amount of plasmid DNA in the cell is an important determinant of the host plasmid system. When plasmid expression occurs, an additional burden is imposed on the cell and a deterioration in cell growth occurs. When there is a large amount of plasmid DNA present, this metabolic burden may become quite high. Plasmids may be lost from the host by several mechanisms. Various factors affects the partitioning of the plasmid. First comes the segregational effect where the plasmids may partition unevenly between mother and daughter cells at the point of cell division, and the structural effects where the plasmid loss occurs due to reduction in the rate of growth of plasmid containing cells. Partitioning of plasmids at cell division from the mother cell to the daughter cell is generally regulated in low and intermediate copy number plasmids by genetic information contained on the plasmid at the PAR locus, and these plasmids are thus desirable for the stability characteristics. High copy number plasmids do not contain a PAR locus. Segregational instability in the absence of this type of gene regulations can be related to the number of plasmids in the cell. First, before getting into the model that has been developed, let us see a short video. The probability that a plasmid-free daughter cell is formed is given by theta equal to 2 power 1 minus n, where n is the number of plasmids in the mother cell. The generalized model that has been developed to study the replication of plasmid is the unstructured model that interplays with plasmid properties and growth characteristics of the host cell, and the plasmid replication depends on host cell and also the plasmid. The rate equation with respect to plasmid replication will be discussed here. During replication from a single plasmid, we will be getting two plasmids, and the rate expression for plasmid replication further depends upon the nature of plasmid and also the host. So, the rate expression of plasmid has to be written in context with the rate of replication of plasmid and also the rate of replication of the host cell, and these rate expressions follows Michaelis-Menten kinetics. As these processes are regulated by various enzymes, we expect that these expressions follow Michaelis-Menten kinetics, and the rate expressions will be written in context with the Michaelis-Menten kinetics by considering the initial plasmid number and specific growth rate of cells. Rate expression for plasmid replication will be written in context with the plasmid number and specific growth rate of the cells. A Mohs balance over the cell, noting that volume may change during growth, gives their expression wherein we get the change in plasmid number in unit time is given by the rate of replication of plasmid host cell and the specific growth rate and plasmid number. When the cell is in a state of balanced growth, that is, cells are grown in a continuously well mixed reactors or in the exponential phase, the value of intracellular components will tend to be a constant value. Thus, we can set dP by dt to 0 and calculate the steady state plasmid number, and we can estimate the number of plasmids at the steady state condition. An estimate of the steady state concentration of plasmid can be made by using the above equation. The steady state concentration of plasmid equation implies that at low growth rates, the host cell through Kh influences the plasmid number. A low value of Kh would give the case of runaway replication where extremely high copy numbers are found. If Kh is large, then the plasmid number remains small. A specific growth rate where the steady state number of plasmids falls to 0 can be found by setting Ps of u to 0, Ps of mu to 0 that defines the washout growth rate as mu of Pwo is equal to Vmax by Kp minus Kh Pso. Using the definition of Pso and the rate expression for Ps mu, we can eliminate Kp and rearrange the resulting equation to provide a linear relationship for determining the parameters Kh and Vmax. The linear equations can be obtained to simplify the study of DNA replication. Experimental data by Schuler and co-workers is given here, where the curve through the data has been extrapolated to determine mu Pwo and a value of 2 per half is obtained. This value of mu Pwo is used to transform the data, and the linear relationships of specific growth rate of the cell and the rate of replication of plasmid have been determined. This model provides a simple relationship of the essential features of plasmid replication. Like the Monod model for microbial growth, it is a simplification that cannot be expected to be valid under transient conditions. Next, we will be examining the suitable models that have been developed to study the stability of plasmid. For bioprocess engineers who work with the recombinant strains, the potential problem is plasmid loss or inactivation, and it is very uncertain to estimate the plasmid-free populations in due course of process, and DNA mutation with defective plasmid segregations occurs that further in turn affects the yield of the process. The total number of plasmid present in the culture must double once per generation, and the plasmid copies must be equally distributed between mother and daughter cells. But practically, it is highly uncertain and depends whether the plasmid is a high copy number or low copy number plasmids. As we have seen earlier, the high copy number plasmids can be washed out easily, and after subsequent generations, the cells will be growing lacking the plasmid. The protein that is being incorporated in the plasmid will not be produced as per the yield that has been calculated, as even the plasmid will be trying to lose out the gene incorporated at the multiple cloning site artificially, and in certain cases host cell regulatory mutations occurs in order to rule out the plasmid inserted, and also finally the growth rate ratio of plasmid free altered cells to plasmid containing altered cells will be high. Once a major population of cells become plasmid free, then all the cells will try to lose out the plasmid, and at one point of time the bioprocess will be carried out in the reactor with plasmid free cells. The key parameters to be considered in working with plasmid bearing cells is the estimating probability of plasmid loss per generation of cells, estimate the relative growth rate of plasmid-free and plasmid-containing cells, and bioprocess engineers should be able to estimate the rate of generation of plasmid-free cells. Suitable models have been developed by considering the specific growth rate of plasmid-free and plasmid-containing cells, taking the assumptions that the plasmid-containing cells are identical in considering the probability of plasmid loss and all these cells have the same copy number. In a chemostat, the specific growth rate of plasmid bearing and plasmid losing cells have been estimated. So when we assume R is the rate of generation of plasmid free cells from plasmid containing cells and the rate of generation of plasmid free cells is obtained as R equal to P into mu plus, where P is the probability of forming a plasmid free cell and P can be estimated by the formula of 2 power of 1 minus n, where n is the number of cells bearing plasmid. The simplest assumption for cellular kinetics have been framed with respect to specific growth rate of plasmid bearing cell and plasmid free cell. At quasi steady state, as there is no change in plasmid free and plasmid bearing cells, the equation can be written as 0 equal to mu plus n plus mu minus n minus d into n power of t, and the equation can be written in terms of fraction of total population as f plus and f minus, and d is the dilution rate. And from the above equations, rate of replication and specific growth rate of cells in the reactor can be determined. Further, the fraction of plasmid containing cells in a batch culture under any circumstances can be estimated by determining the number of generations, which is given as n, and alpha the dimensionless growth ratio and the probability of forming a plasmid free cell upon dividing, that is given as P. To summarize, in today's class we have discussed the various factors that has to be considered in estimating the growth kinetics of single cells. Regulatory parameters to be considered for performing a single cell model is cell density and cell cycle fluctuations, and these single cell models have advantages where these models can be used to study unbalanced growth conditions and also to estimate the changes in cell cycle. In plasmid replication model, we studied that the control mechanism for plasmid replication is the replication of plasmids, the rate of replication of plasmids, segregation of plasmid, and regulation of cell growth. And fluctuations in plasmid replication rate occurs owing to changes in plasmid copy number and cell stability. In the plasmid stability model, we have studied that the growth kinetics of organism affects the stability of plasmid, and plasmid inactivation and plasmid loss are two major limitations in working with plasmid stability, and the basic challenges such as plasmid instability and segregational instability can be avoided and suitable parameters can be estimated in order to produce metabolites from recombinant cells. The reference material for today's class content were Biochemical Engineering by Bailey and Wallis, Biochemical Engineering by Blanchard Douglas, and the technical paper that has been published by Schuler and co-workers in Journal of Biotechnology. Thank you everyone for joining this session.